Hello, welcome back to Weapons Training Ministry. Today we're diving into something truly extraordinary, a discovery that could shake the foundations of our understanding of history and faith. You might have seen reports about the bombshell findings reveal possible proof that Noah's Ark actually existed, coming from researchers in Turkey. This Fox News report highlights new evidence, including scans revealing the tunnels and organic matter within a massive boat-shaped formation. For years, the story of Noah's Ark has been a cornerstone of faith, a testament to the divine judgment and preservation. But what if there's tangible evidence emerging that could bring this ancient narrative into sharp focus for our modern world? Now, at Weapons Training Ministry, we're all about equipping you for the spiritual battle we face every day. And understanding the truth of our faith from its very foundations is a crucial part of that armor. This discovery, if confirmed, isn't just an archaeological marvel, it's a powerful reminder of God's faithfulness in His Word. It speaks to the reality of His judgment and His promise of salvation, themes that resonate deeply within the days of Noah we often discuss. Think about it. The same divine power that's preserved Noah and his family through a global flood is the same power that equips us to overcome the challenges we face today. The spiritual warfare we talk about is ancient, and the evidence of God's intervention throughout history, like this potential ark discovery, only strengthens our resolve and our faith. Fox News and the New York Post just broke a story that the secular world does not want to talk about. A researcher named Andrew Jones announced on April 22, 26, that new underground scans of a boat-shaped formation in Turkey have revealed hidden tunnels, chambers, and soil chemistry that cannot be explained by natural geology. Skeptics have been saying for decades that Noah's Ark is a fairy tale. Here's what the evidence actually says. The story doesn't start in 2026, it starts in 1959. A Turkish military captain named Durupinar was conducting an aerial survey of eastern Turkey when he spotted something that stopped him cold. A massive boat-shaped formation jutting out of the terrain near Mountain Arafat. That site has carried his name ever since, the Durupinar site. Now here's what most people don't know. When researchers measured that formation, it came in exactly 515 feet long. That's 300 Egyptian cubits. The exact measurement God gave Noah in Genesis chapter 6. Think about that. In the exact region the Bible points to, the mountains of Arafat, there's a formation sitting in the earth that matches the biblical blueprint to the foot. That's not a coincidence, that's a data point. For decades, mainstream science has dismissed it, called it a natural landform, moved on. But a team called Noah's Ark Scans refused to let it go. And what they just found changes the conversation entirely. Researcher Andrew Jones announced this week that his team has conducted extensive ground-penetrating radar scans, GPR, along with secondary technique called infrared thermography, or IRT, across the entire Durupinar site. Here's what the technology revealed. First, internal structure. The GPR scans show a series of tunnels and corridors running through the interior of the formation, not random voids, organized tunnels. One running down the center of the structure, others running along the inside edge, all of them converging on the central cavity that Jones calls the atrium. These are not patterns that form naturally in rock. Natural geological formations do not produce organized internal corridor systems. This is structural architecture. Second, the soil chemistry. In 2024, Jones and his team pulled 88 random soil samples, half from inside the formation, half from immediately outside. The results were striking. The soil inside the ship shape contained 3 times more organic matter than the soil right outside it, and 38% more potassium. In the fall, the grass growing inside the formation turns a distinctly yellower color than the grass outside. The soil itself is chemically unique to the interior of the structure. Something different happened inside this formation, something biological, something that left a chemical signature in the ground thousands of years later. Third, elevation. The Durupinar site sits at 6,500 feet above sea level, and around it researchers have found ancient fossilized coral and seashells at 6,500 feet. Think about what that means. These are marine organisms found in the mountains of eastern Turkey. Andrew Jones put it plainly, one time this area was underwater. A global flood is not mythology, it's geology. Now here's where the battle lines get drawn, because when this story broke, the skeptics came out immediately. Let me give you the top 3 arguments and a tactical response to each one. Skeptic argument number 1. It's just a natural rock formation. Geology creates boat-shaped landforms all the time. Here's a tactical response. Yes, geology can create elliptical landforms. What geology cannot do is create organized internal corridor systems that follow architectural patterns. GPR scans of natural formations show random voids and inconsistent densities. What the GPR shows at the Durupinar site is systematic, structured, intentional. You don't get organized corridors from a mud flow. That requires design by a designer. And then add the soil chemistry on top. 3 times more organic matter inside than outside, consistently across 88 sample points. If this were just a natural rock formation, the soil chemistry inside and outside would be essentially identical. It isn't. The ground itself is telling a story. Remember during Jesus' triumphal entry when they told the disciples to stop saying Emmanuel? What did he say? He said, if I told them to stop, even the stones would cry out. That carries prophetic significance in today's day and age with biblical archaeology. Skeptic argument number 2. The Genesis flood account is just Hebrew mythology. Every ancient culture has a flood story. Here's a tactical response, and this one is important. You just made my argument for me. The Epic of Gilgamesh from ancient Mesopotamia, Chinese flood legends, Native American oral traditions, Hindu texts, flood accounts appear across virtually every ancient civilization on Earth. Cultures that have no contact with each other. Now ask yourself, what is the more rational explanation? That every culture independently invented the same catastrophic flood event, or that every culture remembered the same event that actually happened? In a court of law, when multiple independent witnesses who never met each other give the same testimony, that's not coincidence. That's corroboration. The global distribution of flood accounts isn't evidence against the Bible, it's evidence for it. Skeptic argument number 3. No wooden structure could survive thousands of years. The ark would have rotted away completely. This is almost laughable when you look at the census of people that believe in concepts of evolution theory. They're completely refuting their own belief system with this garbage argument. Here's a tactical response. No one is claiming they found a floating wooden ship sitting on top of a mountain. What they found is the preserved hole shape buried deep in the soil. Over thousands of years, the wood would have mineralized and carbonized, and essentially turned to the earth. That is exactly why the soil inside shows a completely different chemical composition than the soil outside. The organic material from the ark's structure has become part of the ground itself. That's not an argument against the discovery, that's actually consistent with what we would expect to find if the ark were there. The IRT scans confirm a ship-shaped hole preserved deep in the soil. The structure is still there, it's just been absorbed by the earth over a millennia. Genesis 8:4 says this, and in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, the ark rested on the mountains of Ararat. The mountains of Ararat are in eastern Turkey. The formation is there, the dimensions match, the internal structure is there, the soil chemistry is there, the fossilized marine life is there at 6,500 feet above sea level, and now GPR technology is mapping the interior architecture. Every piece of physical evidence is pointing in one direction, and that direction is the same direction Genesis has been pointing for thousands of years. Here's what I want you to understand about biblical archaeology, and this is the tactical principle. The pattern is always the same. The secular world calls out scripture ancient mythology. Then a researcher digs or scans or samples, and then the physical world confirms what the text said. It happened at Jericho, it happened with the Hittites, it happened with the Pool of Siloam, it happened with the tomb of Caiaphas, and it happened again right now at the Durupinar site in Turkey. The Bible is not a book that needs the world to validate it, but the world keeps validating it anyways. Now I want to speak to you directly for a moment, because this just isn't an archaeological story. The ark had one door, one way in. Genesis 6:16. God told Noah to put the door in the side of the ark. And when the flood came, Genesis 7:16 says God himself shut that door. One door, one way to be saved. Everyone inside, alive. Everyone outside, gone. And I will make the argument right here. Those that were preserved through the judgment were preserved prior to it. Jesus was recorded in John 14:6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. One door then, one door now. The ark is a picture of Christ. The flood is a picture of judgment. And Noah's faith, his decision to build the ark when there wasn't even a cloud in the sky, is a picture of what saving faith looks like. Acting on what God said before you can see the outcome. The discovery of that ark in Turkey is not just a headline, it's a reminder. The flood was real, the judgment was real, the salvation was real, and the one who provided it then is the same one who provides it now. Guys, subscribe now and sharpen your sword. Hey y'all, if you found this video helpful, you're going to love the deep dive I did on engaging spiritual warfare. I've linked that video right here on the screen for you. It dives deeper into this subject matter to help build your defense. Click or hit the subscribe circle to catch the latest intel. I'll see you over in the next briefing right now.